Welcome to this week's episode of Stage Door Athletic. Now, as you can see, I'm sat in the auditorium of the Northcott Theatre. The set of EXE Men is behind me, and we're halfway through the run, and it's going really, really well. It's been an extraordinary week opening it, and of course, as we discussed last week, a lot of the characters in the play, almost all of the characters in the play, are real life people involved in the various stages of the Exeter Chiefs story, and many of them have been along to see the show this week. So after press night, where many of them were, it was this great experience of being able to sit and chat to some of the people and get the real versions of the stories, many of which are featured in the play. Rob Kitson, the author of the book it's all based on, has been here a few times as well, which has been great. Ashley Pharoah, who's adapted it for the stage, has also been here. And the reactions for the audiences have been really extraordinary. Now, on Tuesday night as well, Rob Baxter, who I play, his wife Jo, and his children Jack and Annie, now grown up, also came along to see the show, which was a fantastic experience, made far better by the fact that I'd had the opportunity to go and spend an hour with Rob, who invited me along to Sandy Park, the Chiefs Stadium, and him and I had a sit-down chat for the podcast, which was just brilliant. And so here it is, Rob and I, when Rob met Rob at Sandy Park, sitting down to chat. Now, I've started this video, I've added a little bit of extra at the start because as we were setting up, Rob and I ended up inevitably talking about Jack's love of West Brom, mine for Leeds United, and it led into a really interesting discussion about empathy for other coaches in other sports. So here's my chat when Rob met Rob.
He's a big West Brom fan.
All right.
And I'm a Leeds United fan.
Right.
And we came together and...
Oh, so you're enjoying this year then?
It's great to be back up. That is great. And we're doing all right, actually. You know, I think
definitely.
For...
we scored a lot of goals at the end of last season. There's some
thrillers at the end
of last season.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think there's a bit of a legacy of the sort of Bielsa days of... That's changed the DNA a little bit of the club of like, you know, let's go out there and play a little bit. And the fans have got used to that a little bit. And so I think it's good. I think we might survive. I think there might be worse clubs than us these days. Yeah. Do you watch other sports?
I watch a little bit of football. Well, like I follow results probably more than watch, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. Who do you keep an eye out for?
Well, I mean, the kind of clashes around the Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United scenario is always just because, I mean, when I've grown up, I would have grown up where majority of football was dominated by Manchester United for quite a period. Yeah. Which was obviously, in a way, good when it's not your main sport. Watching one club be able to be dominant in Europe and all this kind of stuff, you quite like it, don't you? Because you're just English. English club doing really, really well. And then obviously, so when you kind of watch them now and you kind of go, oh, what's happening there? And then, because the story of Manchester United is an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. From all those years being there, and then there's not many ups since, is there? It's just been how many different downs can they go through before they start to come back, isn't it?
Because, you know, I direct theatre as well as act in it. So when I go to the theatre, there's always part of me going, looking at the lighting rig a little bit and sort of thinking about the creation of it. It's quite hard just to be totally immersed in it. When you watch other sports, do you have a similar experience? Think Paul Ruben Amorim?
Yeah, a bit, without doubt. You've definitely, especially when you had the year like we had last year, you definitely kind of sometimes watch and go, especially when you hear like this non-stop, oh, who's the next manager? Who's going to go next? Who's going to go next? Who's going to go next? Yeah, you do start to go, oh, blimey.
And did you read stuff about you and like he's got to be on his way out? I mean,
I had it non-stop last season, non-stop in all different ways.
How does that feel?
I suppose after years where it not even being considered, it's tough and it's different. Yeah. But at the same time, it kind of opens your eyes to what other coaches are going through, and it does make you realise a professional sport is like that. Yeah. That's what it's about. Interestingly enough, the times I probably spoke about it the most was when we first got in the Premiership. Yeah. Because I remember then, and that probably actually helped us become established as a team. Yeah. Because I can remember saying to Jo, to my wife at the time, and to the players, just going, guys, look, we've done a massive thing here getting the Premiership. The club have worked extremely hard to get there. There's only a few things. There's a few things we can control. We control how hard we train. But we can also make sure that we don't go into the Premiership terrified of being relegated, because guarantees we will.
Yeah.
So let's get in the Premiership and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah.
If we maximise every minute of it, enjoy every minute of it, that'll give us the biggest chance to improve. If we improve, we get the biggest chance to stay up.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, so that almost pressure of saying, how do you approach this? Do we just go very nervy into it and try and scrape through games? Or do we go flat out for it and see if we can talk about keeping the ball and growing minute by minute? The more we can throw into the games, the better we'll get. The more we let the players experience it, the better we'll get. And that actually allowed us to survive in the first couple of years. And so that almost turning a fear on its head a little bit was really important. I kind of think that's the important thing. That's the big lesson. It's kind of what I've learned a bit this season after last season.
Yeah.
It's just turn it on its head.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done. We've taken charge of ourselves. We've talked a lot more about the emotional side of the sport, a lot more about enjoying what we do, a lot more about expressing ourselves emotionally and connecting emotionally, and it's helping us bind ourselves together at the start of this season.
That's really interesting, because I think, as a performer, when you stood in the wings, you're feeling a level of anxiety and nerves and adrenaline and all those things, similar to sports people in the tunnel and in those last minutes in a changing room. And you've got to reframe that as a constructive emotion. You've got to, one of the ways to overcome it is to think, I'm excited, or is the character nervous?
You've got to decide to embrace
things.
it. Once you decide to embrace it, I say to the lads a lot of the time before they go out, so just let your adrenaline, if it's pumping, just let it go.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that makes you superhuman.
Yeah.
That emotional, letting that energy flow through you, rather than you being worried about it. That's the superhuman part of top sportsmen.
Yeah.
And it's been able to use your adrenaline, your excitement, your fear, all of it to help you rather than to hold you back. That's the bit. And 9 times 10 in team sport, learning how your role, and you can express all of that energy and all of that fear, whatever, in one direction, but it's the direction the team needs you to go in, and you've got 14 other guys doing the same. That's when you build your kind of like your superpower team, because they're all that energy is just helping each other, not fighting against each other.
Yeah, but that's all well and good. That's a great theory, Rob, and you've learnt that over the years through experience, maturity, doing this a long time. You've got a lot of young lads here who, haven't necessarily developed that emotional maturity in their own lives, let alone on a pitch or in a dressing room. How do you try and develop them towards that philosophy? Because I'm sure you sit a lot of time and see a lot of nodding heads and we'll do that, but it doesn't necessarily translate to them being able to.
But this is, I never try to tell anybody else how to do it. So all I can say is how I've done it before, and what I've tried to do again this year now. I'm kind of back at the kind of leading the story, so to speak, and that's kind of what I always try to do it. You try and make it like it's a story. Then you write your pages, you write your words, you write the chapters. Eventually, you'll write the book, and like we've used a bit of a story and a theme right from the day one of pre-season about what groups of people can achieve if they come together and they commit to each other. Yeah. How much power you have in your own hands to make incredible things happen. Yeah. And that's what we kind of do. I always like to try and pull a group together with a bit of a story, and you go back to it. What are we going to write? What kind of a story are you going to write today, guys? What kind of a page are you going to write? What words are you going to write as an individual? Just try and get them aligned to just go, this is good. We're just settled in. We know what we're doing. We've talked about these things all through the pre-season. I've got to just settle into my role. If I settle into my role, we get success. And then what we've had lucky at the start of this season, we've had a couple of positive results. And positive results get confidence, they get buy-in.
Especially that comeback.
Yeah, you get stuff. You get stuff.
Is that like a win?
Oh, in some ways, possibly. In a weird kind of way, possibly better than the win in a way. Yeah. Because I think if we got there and we'd battled all the way through and it'd been an even game and then we'd just sneaked it at the end, that would have obviously given us a lot of confidence, but it might have created a little bit of doubt as well as to what can we do, how quickly can we score, can we get the points we need. Yeah. But being able to take control of a period of the game was probably very important for us. Yeah. Because then we followed that through last week. We probably played Newcastle at the right time to follow through that level of confidence.
Before they spend all that money.
Well, I think probably before they get settled into being a settled side, that gave us an opportunity to get off on the front foot again. And now we've got the option. Now it's the nice scenario. We're going away from home. That reduces the pressure a little bit. And so actually we can go and attack the game and so, go on, we're going to go and take something out of this game.
Yeah.
Come on, let's let the horses out, kind of thing. You know, let's set ourselves free. And we created a nice, interesting start to the season for ourselves, and that's all we could have done. That's all we could have asked for, really.
Well, take us back, because there's a great scene in the play. You've read it, haven't you, a while ago, I imagine?
My wife's read me bits of it.
Yeah, okay, great. It's going to be more of a surprise.
I don't mind telling you. I haven't read the books, and I haven't read the book, and
Rob Kitson's book.
I haven't really read too much of the lines of the play and bits and pieces, kind of because I do intend to read the book, and obviously I'm going to come and watch play. But I quite like things being from the perspective I see them.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting with the book was obviously that whole period is for me is seen through my eyes, and nobody else's.
Yeah, of course.
And when you read a book that's got multiple people putting inputs
Telling
into
you
it,
what you felt.
you kind of start going, I'm not quite sure it was like that. I'm not quite sure. And so I'm just going to leave it until I'm finished with rugby, and then I can actually just sit and enjoy it and have a smile. Oh
man, I hope Thursday is an enjoyable experience for you. No spoilers, but there's a scene on the farm where you've been called into the club and Tony's offered you the job of the coach, and you come back and I, as you, have a little scene, and Joe, being Joe, is saying, well, tell me what's happened, and you say, you talk about all the pressures potentially of it being professional sport, and you know the pressures you're going to come under, the pressure Joe's going to come under in Tesco's if you have a run of bad results, and you say, you know, I could get the sack. I probably would get the sack. I will get the sack. Yeah. You said. But take us back to that day on the farm. You've been at the club. You were training with Exeter Uni at the time, I think, weren't you? You were coaching then, one of your first forays into coaching. Tony takes the risk. What was that conversation with Tony like, first of all, and then take me to the farm?
It was an interesting day because obviously you could tell. You know, I think people know that we'd had some bad results. We had a particularly poor result against Moseley in like a game. It was a double header. And you can kind of tell, it's weird, you can just kind of tell things are going on.
Yeah.
And Tony started calling us kind of up to the office, the coaching staff. And the one I can remember just kind of coming in, sitting in the boardroom. It wasn't this room, it was the other boardroom. And Tony kind of going, well, right, we're making some changes. Tell me why, you know, what you think you're contributing, why you should keep your job or whatever kind of stuff. And I kind of talked him through what I thought I was contributing to the side and what I thought I was doing. Robin Cowlin, who was the head of our academy and had been helping out a bit, kind of jumped in my defence a little bit. Yeah. And fair play to Robin, he kind of said, you know, I think you need to be a bit careful here, Tony. You might be letting go of the guy who knows what's going on here and can pull it together for you. And Tony went, well, right, we're going to make the choice to down the range over to you, whatever. And I said, well, you know, like you do, kind of you're a bit like, right, thank you, and right, we'll kind of go from there. And obviously, you know, and you're getting home, and it's a funny one because at the time you're excited and you have all the plans straight away, all your plans of what you're going to do, what's going through your head. They all start, you know, there's not enough staff here. I need to employ some staff. What they want to do with the squad. What some things I've already maybe been thinking of. Yeah. And so almost you're in this kind of like whirlwind, and then you kind of sit down and try to say to myself, well, we've got a job, this is what it's going to mean, and it's going to be long hours, and we've got to get this and that. And Joe's very kind of very practical. Yeah. And that's why I say sometimes she's been my best sounding board, because when I start to get in a fluster and you're overthinking things, sometimes she can just keep, and that's what she's like. She's just like, well, roll down, like everything's fine. Yeah. You know, whatever happens, we got here. So, you know, it's almost a bit like, well, just go and do it. You know you want to do it, so do it, and you know, we'll be here and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And she's very much like that, very practical, and as I say, you know, that's how she kind of deals with things most of the time. Yeah. Never got too carried away with the, you know. She says, don't let your ear get too big and all this type of stuff. She kind of says to me, and then other times, you know, she picks you up when you're a bit grumpy. Yeah. But no, that's what she was like, and she just went, right, well, come on, let's give it a go. And I think maybe at the time you go, well, you know, it will end at some stage with being sacked, and that won't be so nice. And she kind of was a bit like, well, but then if you never give it a go, you never give it a go, you don't know. And ironically, you know, hopefully it doesn't end. Hopefully I can keep the fight going, and it
That'd
doesn't.
be a rare
And it doesn't,
thing, wouldn't it? You know, if you transition out, that's a really rare thing in any sport.
Yeah, and we don't know. I mean, I think the thing that's changed is at the time, I saw it as a huge opportunity to do something for myself, to prove something to myself and for my family, kind of thing. Like my dad did some extraordinary things for our family when he moved from the north of England down here. You know, we went from farm to farm until we got settled where we are. You know, he was working 2 jobs, doing incredible stuff to create a home for us. Yeah. You know, and as correct, you know, of his own, like I say to our players, but in the work of his own 2 hands, has created fantastic opportunity for us to allow us to, you know, Rich and I played. Well, I played semi-professionally. My brother played professionally. We've had those opportunities, and I thought this was something that I think I was particularly good at, or I had a talent for at the time. I obviously just think you've got a talent for it, and I had the opportunity to potentially grab that with 2 hands and create something for our family, a bit of success, or a name for ourselves, so to speak. And so I was very excited about that, and that's kind of, I think, probably what drove me to put as much energy and drive into it right from the start as I did, is because there was a fantastic opportunity there. As a club that had moved into this place, Sandy Park.
And your dad was really instrumental in that whole journey, hasn't he? I mean, that's chronicled
the whole
in the
journey
play.
where
I mean,
we
it's
came
amazing,
here,
isn't it?
Played at the county ground, then was on the committee, was chairman of selectors. One of the guys who made the big decision not to sell the county ground at the wrong time. Because that was the key decision. I mean, Tony has made some massively important decisions for when we sold the county ground, how we transitioned to here, the purchase of this place, the building of this place, all incredible things. But pre-Tony getting there, some of the important guys were the ones who didn't sell it. Because when the game first went professional, a lot of clubs threw a lot of money into professional sport and sold, you know, lost all the kind of family silver. And they've never got it back. And those clubs have just kind of disappeared. And we didn't. And so actually we sold just at the right time, housing market really good, built this base, and that's really what created the foundation for us to become a professional side, is we've got this place here.
But it could have gone another direction, you know, Rob, because obviously, is it your granddad Ted who sort of initially brought down Lancastrians, Wigan? You could have been a rugby league legend. That's my sport.
Well, I don't know. I mean, my dad nearly played rugby league before they came down. I suppose the incredible thing is that my father's family, my mum's family, they didn't live very far apart in the north of England, around the kind of Lancashire, Wigan type kind of area, and they moved down here, and my mum's family moved to Braunton near Barnstable, and my kind of dad's family moved to kind of, at the time I think they were at Crediton, and they ended up meeting in Barnstable. My dad drove up there with a friend to a dance in Barnstable and meets my mum, and they've lived all that. They've start close together and end up meeting in Devon, and you know, it's coincidence is an incredible thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So one thing I'm really interested to find out a little bit about, and again, there's some great scenes in the play where, you know, as the coach, doing a few pre-match speeches. One, early doors around a kind of growth and inspiration. One is a bit more of a chastisement, you know, kind of really appealing to people's, I guess, sort of like responsibility that you've talked about a little bit already about the lads and developing them. How do you feel about being an orator? You know, talk me about how that's developed over time, about that responsibility to find the words, the thinking that you do about it, whether it's instinctive, planned.
Yeah.
Talk about that a bit.
It's a little bit of, I think you have to have a little bit of all of it. So when people have asked me before, I think there's 2 things. I think pre-match, you know, you have a bit of time to think and plan, and like I say, that's where you have to kind of try and make sure I always think not following the plan, but following the story, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if we've talked about something on day 1 of pre-season, and then we've slowly pushed those themes through pre-season, if by game 2 of the Premiership I'm not referencing those things, I've gone completely off track.
Yeah.
The good players are going to go, well, hold on, for 8 weeks, 10 weeks we've been following this, and now we're already going off track. So I think it's important you have a plan on how you're going to try and follow that story, so to speak, or that theme across, particularly that first block of games, until you know the direction you're heading. But then I think half time can be a little different. I think it still can reference those points, but sometimes it's deciding whether, looking at the players, whether they need a challenge, or whether they need, and the challenge can come in different ways. It can come quite emotionally and vocal, and this is just not good enough, it's not acceptable, or it can come in a very quiet way where it kind of challenges you to sit there and go, yeah, all right, we're letting ourselves down in a different way, or these are a couple of points that can improve us. And I think that bit, that kind of understanding the emotional level of a room, not just on game day but through the week, is probably the key strength you have to try and learn.
So you're constantly taking temperature throughout the week around that sort
and
of
looking and experience. And I think that only can come with a bit of experience. And I think where I was lucky before I became head coach was, obviously I had 10 years of captain when I was playing. You learn an awful lot then about that part of it. Where are we emotionally as a group, and what can you say, or what can you do, or how can you influence that? And then obviously I had a period of being like a head coach at the uni where you're dealing with a completely different group of people, because the fantastic thing, and I see also this to any young coach who wants to get into sport, try and coach at a university, because you get this group of young men, or now with young women, and they come and they are there because they want to be part of a team. They want to be part of something. They're not getting paid. They're not, it's to be part of something and want to be a team person in something they love doing. And their enthusiasm and their energy and their drive to turn up at, sometimes ridiculously late on a Monday night. I mean, up at the university top site, sometimes it was horizontal sleet and all this other stuff. And you stood there and you're looking around and 50 of them turn up, and you go, and you've got 3 rugby balls, and you go, right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do here? And it's just enthusiasm. And then another time you can come into like a professional team and you look around on a Monday and they look like they're half dead, and they don't want to do anything. And you kind of look and go, God, what's the difference here? And you've got to, that's the bit, you've got to be able to manipulate day by day, and learning all those things, learning the different groups and just where people are. And I think one of the big things to remember in sport is, and this is what coaching, I know a lot of modern kind of coaching is about. They kind of go, oh, you want leadership groups and you want player empowerment and all this type of stuff. I always think you do to a degree, because one of the problems with professional sport is the lads, no matter how good a characters they are, how strong a character they are, they will come in on some Mondays, especially in the winter, it's dark and it's wet, and they'll come in on Mondays. And if you said to them, come on guys, how are we feeling? What are we going to do today? Let's set a tone. At some stage, even the best guys will go, oh, it'd be nice to have a bit of an easier day today, wouldn't it? And the reality is, you've got to come in as the head coach and go, almost, when you walk in on a Monday, well, I haven't played a game of rugby this weekend. I'm not tired, I'm not cold, I'm not wet, I'm not miserable. So I'm going to set the emotional tone. And you walk in and you go, right, lads, here we go, up till we get, and you can get everyone moving. And you can. And I think that's why there's that understanding of, yes, you want them to have responsibility, but they're not always going to be able to be the person who drives it. And I think, and it's learning those things, and it's learning those things around team talk, because you can't berate them at every half time. You can't snap at them all the time. Sometimes it's got to be quiet. Sometimes it's got to be challenging them, and you've got to do it at the right time. There's no point challenging the guys and not doing anything wrong. Because you don't get any response. So those are the bits you have to be able to understand with them.
So I've got 2 nephews and a niece. Lucas, the eldest, he's just been playing Lucas and Zach are great rugby players, both forwards, but with fly half brains and handling skills. Lucas has been in Australia, he got picked to play for Queensland Reds under 19s just recently. He's got back and he started at uni in Newcastle. Zach's in the Yorkshire Academy system. They're both in the Academy system. Jess is doing great hockey. The Academy setup here is fantastic. You've seen a lot of young players. What are the characteristics? I just want to be able to tell Lucas and Zach. What are the characteristics? What do you think have been the threads of those players who've just cut through and made it? What are the characteristics and behaviours and mindsets that you've witnessed?
I think it's got. I'll be honest with you. I think it's got harder for young people nowadays, because I think there's almost too much going on. There's almost too many things that can distract them or influence them. And I think that's the harder thing now with coaching young people, is how to get them to pull away from the stuff that doesn't matter or can have a negative effect on people. So I think I think what I've noticed, I mean, I don't do social media, so and I've done that for a very calculated reason, because I've seen stuff that's going on. I've just said, look, this is not, it's not for me. I don't need this. But I've watched some of our young players, and I kind of look and go, when I talk to my kids about it, and like the overriding thread with most social media stuff is negativity and attacking people and actually finding fault. You know, rather than going and spending time looking for the good things in people and celebrating those things, we almost kind of like there's a celebration of failure. Yeah. And I think that's the harder thing for young sports people to now deal with, or be able to shut away or not get influenced by. Yeah. And I think it creates a little, personally, I look at our academy players now, I think it creates a little bit of a fear of them being themselves. And when I say them being themselves in the right way. Yeah. So I think almost they're a little bit too quiet and a little bit too, and this, I've got to be very careful when I say this, almost a little bit too respectful when they come into this environment.
I understand.
Because what you want is you want them to come in and go, I think I'm a good player. Yeah, I'm not going to just come in here and be, you know, big-headed and you know, swaggering around. But actually, when we get on the training field, we're all here for one reason. It's to be the best players we can be. And I'm not. If I can win a fitness test, I'm going to win it. Yeah. But I'm not going to sit at the back just to be respectful to the older players. Yeah. If I can win a skills test, I'm going to win it, because I'm here to be a professional sportsman. Yeah. And I think that's the key. Is the key is for these younger people who want to be professional sportsmen to stop and go, right, is it any different being a professional sportsman now? What is required of me, expected of me, to it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Yeah. This is how I talk to our academy coaches now, because I think they've forgotten this a little bit, is that what you need from that person is no different to what we needed from a professional player 10 years ago. Yeah. If you were going to pay someone to do a job, you should quite rightly expect everything from them. Yeah. You shouldn't go, I expect you to be different now because things are different. You should go, no, hold on. You're getting paid. You're very, very privileged if you get paid to play sport. Yeah. I feel incredibly privileged to get paid to do what I do. And I tell the players, you're incredibly privileged to what you do. There is no excuse for you not to fight to win everything we do, every moment you do, because there's nothing wrong with me expecting that. And I think that's the bit for them to understand, is that, and I think a lot of young people, they probably need that level of determination from coaches. There is nothing wrong with me expecting you to try and win everything you do. Yeah. I think I would have said in the past, our strongest academy players who've come through are the guys who are driven to win everything they do. We've got a couple of them in the group now, and they will undoubtedly become our better frontline players, because they have got an individual determination to win things every day they come in here. A lot of people falsely think that's like a little bit of lack of respect, or a little bit of like putting your head above the parapet. Yeah. You know, I don't know, you've probably seen it, there's the poem in Coach Carter, you know, our greatest fear is not that we are weak, it is that we are powerful beyond belief. You know, I use that a lot with our players, because to me that's what it means. It's like, don't be afraid of what you might be able to achieve just in case you don't.
Well, I think there's something about the right to fail in that, isn't there? Which I think is really interesting. It's a big part of a creative process as an actor, is that you've got to, it's through failure that you make discovery of what's either wrong or what's possible. And I think it's really interesting, the correlation you make there about social media, because there's a degree to which people are inhibiting their action because they're anticipating the potential judgment of it, rather than just doing it and dealing with the consequences of failure. And that's right, because people get cancelled, they get, you know, all sorts of stuff.
I think there's two sides to it. I think embracing failure, again, doesn't always get talked about correctly, because you shouldn't embrace failure if you haven't. I see, for me, failure is a great thing, and it teaches you to be strong, as long as you have tried as hard as you can to be prepared for it. Yeah. I think when you approach it by going, it's just okay for me to fail, because that's the other thing that we do. We don't want to emotionally commit to something, because if you emotionally flat out commit to something and then you fail, that's what really hurts. Yeah. How it could be, and the best description I could put of this is, we all see this every day in life. Someone who will go, something quite basic. I failed an exam today. Yeah. But it's okay, because I didn't really prepare for it as well as I knew I could. or I passed my driving test, I failed my driving test today, but it's okay. I knew I would because I hadn't done all this prep. Or, you know, I didn't win my race today, but I didn't think I would because I had a bit of a cold last week in training. That's the bit you have to challenge young people, or all sportsmen, to stop.
Yeah.
Because what you have to do is you have to commit absolutely everything you can to something. You fail, and instead of being heartbroken by it and try and find an excuse, you just go, today, I didn't quite get there, but at least I know I had that whole body of work behind me.
Yeah.
Now, what I have to commit to do is doing it again.
Yeah.
Because if you don't commit to doing it again, that's when you never will reach your potential. Because if you start going, oh, I am so disappointed today and I've got no excuses.
Yeah.
Where do I go? That's what makes you tough.
Yeah.
Because you do it again, and then you do it again, and eventually, that's because you are peak performing. That's how you get better and better and better.
Yeah.
If you never challenge yourself to peak perform, you'll never reach your end goal, will you? Because you're always a little bit like, oh, it's okay for me to lose today. It's okay for me to lose today. It's okay for me to lose today because I'm not fully committed to it. And that's the bit. I think people talk about embracing failure like it's this all-encompassing thing. Like, get out there and give it a go, and you'll just get better for it. You won't if you just go out there and give it a go. But really, all your excuses are already in place. They're two different things.
Totally.
And it's understanding the difference between the two is the tough bit.
So take me back to the changing room, Twickenham, second time round, that Wasps game. What was your preparation in terms of the dressing room chat there?
I think I didn't have to, from what I can definitely remember that there wasn't too much, because by that stage, that group they'd gritted their teeth and it was there. You know, the year before we lost our first final, and I know when people say, oh, you have to get to final. I mean, I don't believe it. I don't particularly believe in that. But clearly it was the year before came hugely at us, really. Yeah. We had a really good season. We put a lot in the semi-final. Getting to Twickenham was a big emotional thing. We turn up. There are literally thousands of Exeter Chiefs supporters everywhere. You know, we drive into Twickenham, they're banging on the bus, the tomahawk chop, the noise was just absolutely incredible. Even I was taken back by it. And we went in, and we didn't really start the game well, and we actually finished the second half well, but we were too far behind, and it almost felt like it was just incredible we got to a final. Yeah. The year after, it felt different. Nearly the same group of players, one or two additions. They were like locked down and gone, this is our time. Yeah. You know, we knocked Saracens out in the semi-final here in a big emotional game, but although it was a big emotional game, it didn't drain us, it energised us. Yeah. And fair play to lads. I mean, it was some final, you know, level at extra time, level at full time into extra time. And we just had a group of players who played incredibly well. Yeah. You know, just played incredibly well. One or two guys just led the way. It wouldn't break and wouldn't bend. Yeah. And it was a funny one. It felt that was a very natural win in a way. I know it sounds very odd, but it almost felt like it was our time. Yeah, yeah. It genuinely felt like it was our time. Yeah. And I think that's what happened. I think it became our time by the hard work they've been putting at other stages. Yeah. And then that night and the days after, and being back on the farm with Joe and reflecting on that and all those years and county grounds and running on Exmoor and doing stuff with Marines, how does that all just sort of bed in and settle? How do you filter that through into? I mean, obviously, look, it's incredible. I mean, things like, I remember. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember which one it is now. I think, that
so
first
many,
one.
Rob.
No, because it's not been so many, but they've been spread apart. But I remember having the Premiership trophy at home. Yeah. Tony let me bring it home for a while. My son's at uni, and brings a load of his mates over for a barbecue, and they walk in, and we've got the Premiership trophy sat in the middle of the table in the garden, and surrounded by beer, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And you kind of and things like that. They're the things you don't forget. And I mean, I remember, some of the things like the bus parade down the high street and things like that. Some of it was it is incredible. It's kind of stuff you look back on and go, wasn't that amazing? But weirdly, people keep saying to me, "Oh, I must feel like a dream." I played for Exeter when we were in the 4th division, and we kind of got promoted.
Yeah.
And I kind of go. The weird thing is, it never felt like if you look at this place now, you could go, and you've got British Lions shirts up, England shirts up on the wall, kind of stuff. Is it a dream? You kind of go, well, when you're in it every single day, it doesn't feel like it. Like I say, it feels like a journey.
Yeah.
So when we first won the Premiership, really, it did feel like not the end of a journey, but the end of a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And that's the bit I think people don't realise, is that there's been huge moments forwards and back, all the way through it. And I think the biggest thing I can say was probably the strength of the club growing was the time we were in the Championship and we didn't get promoted.
Yeah.
Because in the time we were in the Championship, quite a lot of clubs had a go at it, threw a lot into it, got promoted for a year or two, got relegated, and then just slipped right out of the leagues and slipped out of a lot of stuff. Whereas we kind of like dug in, and if we didn't make it one year, we dug in and said we'll go again, dug in. And I think those strong roots kind of give you the opportunity to go, right, well, we'll dig in, and year by year you just kind of dig in and get a bit better, dig in and get a bit better. And I'm a huge believer in, as long as you take a step forward, doesn't matter how big it is, sooner or later you'll arrive where you want to go, won't you?
Yeah.
Like obviously last season.
That's the farmer in you, isn't it? You
Yeah, I
talked
think
about
so.
this of
Yeah.
just the attritional, that field's got to be done.
100%,
It's got to be
yeah.
done. Like there's no.
I use it a lot with people here. Like when you're driving towards the biggest field on the farm, for a long way, and you just see it covered in square bales,
Yeah.
and you look and you go, there's something you go, we'll never finish this. But you actually, all you got to do is pick up the first bale, and then you pick
Yeah.
up the second one,
Yeah.
and you'll be back up here in a day or two's time, and it'll be picking up the last one,
Yeah.
and that's it. And that's what you do,
It's
isn't
just
it?
that. I mean, there's just a deep pragmatism in you, then, isn't there? That's been inbred in you. Unlike this airy fairy performer here, it's a very different thing, I think.
Yeah, maybe, but I think it's, to me, a lot of it is just because it's common sense, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? If anybody, when I do something like this and people ask me about things, and then I kind of go, well, that's common sense, though, isn't it? And they kind of go, well, actually, it is, really, isn't it? It is. You don't get fit in one day, do you?
No.
You don't lose weight in one day.
No.
All the things we want to do.
All 3
in
years,
life,
as I'm discovering.
Well, you don't, do you? Nothing happens in a day.
No.
So, and it's like anything that you positively want to do starts with you making a positive change that you repeat as often as possible.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big that positive thing is, but you repeat it as often as you can. And the more you repeat it, the better you get at whatever you're practicing, isn't it? It's no different to learning a language, learning a musical instrument. They're all the same.
Yeah.
You do something positive and you do it again as often as
10,000
possible.
hours.
Yeah. And that's,
What about the European? It's a very different experience, wasn't it? There, and no fans in Bristol that night. What's your memories of that? Like emotionally, and again, just the dressing room vibe. What I'm interested about. I'm obviously gleaning lots of tips here, Rob.
Yeah.
So, think about the speech there. How was that different? What did you think you needed to do differently then, if anything?
I think, again, that was just a reminder of the key things we talked about that made us a great side, where you could put your individual energy for the benefit of the team. When you had this kind of an opportunity in your hands, what were you going to commit to it? But again, that was a group that had been together for a period of time, and they had shifted their focus very much onto winning the European competition. I think the key thing with that group of players, and this is where I'm always very keen to make sure that the people who were genuinely had to do it, and the players have got to get huge credit for when a group of players really choose to come together. They need a lot of credit for that, because it takes a lot to sacrifice yourself to each other in a team.
Yeah.
That's the gold dust you get as a coach, when you get them to understand how much they can benefit from sacrificing for each other. You can become a British Lion because actually 14 other guys want you to become a British Lion. But they'll only help you become a British Lion if they know you're giving everything to them.
Yeah.
You can help people become internationals if everyone helps them become an international, but they'll only do that for you if you're doing it for them. We talk a lot about that kind of thing, and that group, I think they knew that if they wanted to win a big trophy, that's what it took. It would take them sacrificing for each other and doing it for each other, And so they just needed guiding along on this was how we're going to play, this is what we're going to do, this is how you play French teams. We spent a lot of time kind of talking to the lads about how you play the bigger French teams and how you'll get the benefits at some stage in games. And we talked a lot about that in the build up through that season. But the players themselves, it was the COVID times. Rugby got stopped, and rugby got stopped at a time when we were, I think, top 2 in the Premiership, and we would already qualify for the quarterfinals in Europe. And I remember the last thing we said to the lads, or the last message I sent them, because we all got sent home, was, guys, however long this things will take, we've been told the season will be finished. They're not going to, whatever you're hearing on TV, whatever you're hearing, everything I'm being told is this season will be played out to a finish. We are the team who are best set in both competitions. Don't miss this opportunity, because this is something that may never come again in your career. Please don't waste this time. And with all that doubt that was going on what will happen around sport, when's lockdown going to end, how's sport going to get back into things, all this type of stuff. What happened is our lads went away and they worked extremely hard, individually and then collectively when they were allowed to. And I think that is why you've got to look at those guys in particular and go, well, fair play to you, because and fair play to quite a lot of our staff. So like a lot of our S&C staff and our physio staff, they were doing like their 30 minutes outdoors, walking past gardens and bits of people, just having check-ins with guys and make sure everything was okay, and Zoom calls non-stop. And S&C staff were on Zoom calls watching guys in garages doing weight sessions to make sure they were doing things right and this type of stuff. And so everybody committed really to that success of that season. And so when we actually came back together, I think we were probably genuinely better prepared than any team in Europe, probably. And I think that showed. And that's why sometimes you've got to go, fair play to you lads, because I can't say I sat there and had loads of influence on that, because I was sat at home in my garden in the sun wondering what was going to happen the rest of the season, just like a lot of other people. We did there was a load of contracty stuff we had to get done. There was a load of, like I say, little bits of Zooms and meetings and keeping on top of where we were physically and all this type of stuff. There was lots of little bits going on, but most of it was done by the lads. They had to decide to knuckle down. And I think because they'd committed that body of work, when they got back together, they had a supreme confidence in each other, and that confidence just never ebbed right until the end of that season. I mean, we won Europe, and I don't mind saying, we are a work hard, play hard club here. Everyone kind of knows that. The lads celebrated pretty hard for a couple of days, which I do think we got them back in kind of on the Tuesday, I think, and they did a bit of a jog around on the main pitch, and we didn't do too much training. Then we went up to Twickenham and we won the Premiership final on the Saturday. Because it was like in November or something, it was in atrocious pouring down rain, which you'd never expect to have to play a final in. Normally it's glorious sunshine, and we did it, and there you go. And it was there, it was wrapped up, and that probably was the ultimate, like I say, of that story with that group. That was probably the chapter that wrapped it up, because that really was, although that group kind of was together the following year, that really was the crowning point for that group, or that part of the story. And really where we are now is we're starting another story with another group, and we have to go and see where we can go. And if hopefully the last chapters will be like those last chapters. Hopefully.
I hope so for you all. Now you'll imagine I've poured over a lot of footage of you in interviews and podcasts and all the rest of it as I was preparing to play you. And I would say you are incredibly measured, right? It's part of your common sense, balanced approach, part of your philosophy. I'm sure it's also part of your experience of learning over time, actually, that you've got to present a certain facet to the world because you judged in all sorts of different ways. But when the camera isn't rolling, what winds you up? What can get your goat, and what makes you laugh? What are the things that maybe take you to more extremes in your emotions?
To be fair, there's probably not too much, and that's probably one of the things that, if you talk about the things that kind of annoy my wife, that probably was some of the things that annoy her, is when she gets really angry about something and I kind of don't, and I'm a bit like, oh, come on, it's all right, no, just come on, don't worry, don't get which way. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I probably spent a lot of time trying to think about being fairly measured, because I think for the players and for the club and everything, I do think it's important that they don't see somebody who's like. And I think this is when you want to try and build a long-term success. I think it's really important that everything's not brilliant when you win, and everything's not awful when you lose.
Yeah.
Because the reality in sport in particular is you've got this group of players, and they win on a Saturday. And then roughly the same group, and so if you portray that you win on Saturday, everything's fantastic, this is brilliant, we've got this massive emotional high, and then that same group, they get through a training week, within 1 week you lose. And the reality is, those players have hardly changed in that week.
Yeah.
There's not, they might have got their emotional level wrong going into the next game. But actually as people, as players, they've hardly changed. So if everything is wrong the next week, if you lose, and then everything is wrong, how do you ever really know where you stand?
Yeah.
And the reality is trying to make sure you see it as, well, what have we got right, what have we got wrong? Did we just lose because they were better? Well, just trying to be measured about it.
Yeah.
Is what lets you, as I said before, take the little steps to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Because if 1 minute you're up here, and then the next week, within the space of a week, you're down here, the reality is you probably, that's the kind of change in performance most weeks. I mean, I know occasionally you can have a drop off. And so really, you have to try and improve from this level where you are here. This is the win and lose level, and you've got to try and get this like this, haven't you?
Yeah.
If 1 minute you're here and the next minute you're here, where are you starting from? Are you trying to get Bill from here, or are you trying to not drop from there?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I always be trying to measure. And probably that just follows on into most of the rest of my life.
Well, that's great to be a professional sports coach, Rob, but you must be a bloody nightmare to have a row with. I bet Joe's like, come on, let's just have a debate.
Occasionally.
You must be infuriating.
Occasionally. I mean, there's not too much. I mean, there is, to be fair, there isn't too much. But
so what's your poker tell? What would be the tell that says, oh, Rob's under pressure a little bit, Rob's on the edge? Physically or vocally, what's your tell, do you think?
I'm trying to think what people would say maybe downstairs when I start to get. I'll probably go a little quiet.
Yeah.
Probably. That would probably be the one. I'd probably go a little bit withdrawn.
Yeah.
But then flip of that is sometimes I try and be like that when I see other people getting flustered, because
Tony's finger point comes out.
Well, I think it's not so much then, but I suppose when I see the other coach, when I see all the other coaches get quite flustered about something, sometimes I'll just stop and say, right, I won't contribute to this. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And then you can just go, well, okay, right, we're all getting excited about something here, but let's relax. But then other times I might be there going, yeah, this is a bit, I'm not quite what to do here. And then you almost have to have that 5-10 minutes to get yourself out of it.
Yeah.
I thought the Northampton game was a good example.
Yeah.
Things were going wrong pretty rapidly towards the end of the first half. And I remember watching and being quite quiet, because actually at that stage, all you've got to think about is what you do at half time.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to solve, you've got to get this bit right here, because this is this could go so far down the hill.
Yeah.
That we've got to recover and we've got to do it in the right way. And that, like you say, that's when you have to decide, like, do we get in there and we really challenge them? And it's not about rugby, it's about what we emotionally commit to the game.
Yeah.
Or is it about 2 or 3 things? And that's probably the bit when I'll go a little bit, whoa, because you genuinely have to have a proper deep think about things to get yourself.
I've noticed that in these camera cutaways of you, even on tries or penalties or big decisions, I can see you thinking. You're not necessarily emotionally demonstrative, are you? You're thinking and processing. I guess you're playing chess, aren't you? You're a few moves ahead. A
little bit. I mean, I start to get emotional response probably when I start to relax. So as I start to relax and I think we're winning, it probably starts to get a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably what happened at the weekend. I do remember celebrating a couple of tries at the weekend, but it was when I think, probably emotionally, I think I knew we were winning.
Yeah.
We were going to win.
But there's no Mourinho runs down the touch lines and knee slides.
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple of runs around in the grandstand. I think when we won that semi-final against Saracens, I managed to run into somebody along the middle of the grandstand. So no, I have my moments.
Yeah.
I have my moments.
Well, I'm eating into a lot of time. I want to give you a little gift. We talked about oratory. I know you like a read, and it's interesting you talking about this year's theme being about stories. This is a timeless one. This is Shakespeare's Henry V.
All right.
And of course, there's some great motivational speeches in this. Once more onto the breach, St. Crispin's Day. So it's a little gift from me to you to thanks for this and to mark this moment.
Although I've read through those speeches and bits and pieces, I've never actually read the whole whole book. So
Well,
I'll look
maybe
forward
it's
to
one
reading
for
that.
retirement. You're pretty busy at the moment at the start of the season and all the rest of it.
I read a lot of books on holiday.
Do you?
Holidays will be round in 9
I'd love to
months'
see you
time.
whipping that out round the pool. People going, Rob Baxter reading Shakespeare. I never thought of
Look
that.
at him.
But thanks so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on Friday. It's going to be a very odd experience for us both, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about going on Thursday?
No, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, my children are coming down from London. They really want to see it. Obviously, my wife just doesn't know what's going on, really. I don't like, she's excited.
Well, let me reassure Joe,
about
because
well.
Misha, who's playing Joe, is fantastic and she's full of empathy and has worked really, really hard. And I think Joe is a huge part of this story, as you know better than anyone. And it's portrayed really brilliantly. And so do try and reassure her about that.
Oh, well,
sort of
don't
thing.
worry. She's
I
looking
can't
forward
say the
to
same
it.
for me about you, I'm afraid. You're just going to have to grin and bear it, I'm afraid.
No, I'll be fine. I'm sure you'll be brilliant.
Oh, thanks so much. It's been a real privilege. I really enjoyed just chatting. It's really great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Rob.
So hopefully you enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed it, and it was so interesting and brilliantly helpful to me. So thanks for listening to that. I think it was a really good insight into a different part of Rob, and having poured over a lot of podcasts and video interviews with him, it was really nice for us to cover some different ground. So I hope you enjoyed it too. Next week, we're going to be back in the clubhouse. Can't wait to actually sit down with Jack for a full episode of him and I catching up on all the different sporting events and to reconnect with him, which I can't wait for. So do join us next week as we return back to the Stage Door Athletic Clubhouse.